Welcome to the Veneration podcast. Veneration is a fitness and nutrition coaching facility in Johnstown, Ohio, and while we obviously do the workout thing really well, we're obsessed with our town and with our community. On this podcast, we'll be covering local happenings, food and drink spots here in town, interviews with our awesome members and other local business owners in the area, and of course, we'll jam on fitness topics with our coaching team as well. If you're in Johnstown and looking to stay up to date with everything that's happening and learn a thing or two about how to enhance your fitness and nutrition along the way, go ahead and subscribe to our channel, give this video a thumbs up, and get notified when we release new episodes. If you or a friend would like to begin your health and fitness journey with us, you can click the link in the show notes to book your free new member consultation. We'll sit down with you, learn more about your health and fitness goals today, and we'll get you started on the path to the new you right now. Enjoy the show. Just have it. Anyway, welcome back, guy.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
You're like the most frequent guest on the podcast. On this, my podcast. You're just so popular. Everyone wants to hear from you.
Oh, yeah, always.
So today's topics are brought to us from our members, from the Veneration community. We have rolled out some new things in our program in the last couple months, and obviously we answer questions on a daily basis about these things because we're coaching our people live. But it's great to field a bunch of questions at once and then kind of address them thoroughly in long form. So that's what we have. We put out a poll, not a poll, just a post to gather questions, and we got quite a few. And the common theme today really is just like training methodology and primarily like accommodating resistance and what that is and the different tools that we use with that. So we're going to get there in a second, but my favorite question that came through and I want you to answer is about like you personally. So what lessons has CrossFit taught you?
CrossFit has taught me a lot of different things in many different parts of my life, both like coaching and training. One of them is patience, and that can relate both coaching and training. Like something that you've said to me for a long time is enjoy the process, specifically in my training of specifically this year. Like I think I'm pretty fit, and I think I'm doing well, and then I see 20 people hit 300-pound snatches in qualifiers and stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'm not really close to that right now, but I mean, who knows? Like, it could come sooner than you could think if you keep putting in the work. So that's a huge one. Patience of meeting people where they are at currently in their fitness level and in their journey, and appreciating that and guiding them the correct way, versus like you typically, if you like, sometimes you see like new people start somewhere, nowhere specifically, just like things I've seen on the internet mostly, and it's like you get these new people and you try to drill them into the ground, and that's no fun for anybody. That's no fun for you. That's no fun for them. Probably won't see them back. So like it is very important to modify people's workouts accordingly, and that's a huge thing for me.
Do you think that it's something that most people or that a lot of people struggle with is patience? Like in your work with your clients, do you see that as like a common struggle, or do you think that that people do a pretty good job with it? Like what's your pulse in the situation?
I would say it just depends on the avatar. Like there's some people that come in with like previous exercise experience, or like they've been weightlifting for X amount of years, but it's just different. So usually like it's like you tell them probably what they should do. Like I've tested this workout, like I know pretty much for the most part what's appropriate. You've gone through the immersion, so I know where you're at. Even if you weren't working with me, like I've been informed on where you're at. But in those cases, like sometimes those people just need to learn for themselves in the first workout, and then right after, then they like learn to trust you, or maybe in the middle of the workout they they realize that this is not a 5x5 back squat with a 4-minute rest in between each set. Even though we could do that, but and like sometimes we do, but in certain cases that doesn't really work out. So to answer your question, there's a lot of patience. Once you explain to people on why they need to be patient and what they're being patient for. If you tell somebody, oh, just be patient, then they're like, what am I being patient for? What's in the future? And that's why it's so important to know what's coming in the programming, how it'll help them, why they're doing it, and so forth.
Sure. There's so many different rabbit holes we could jump down. Something that comes to mind is the struggle of, I've heard a term for this, and it's going to escape me. But like in the first 3 to 6 months, 12 months of your journey with us, everything that you do is going to be a personal record because you're doing most things for the first time, right? So there's like so many highs, so many different bright spots. And, you fast forward 12, 24, 36, you see that good math right there? That was 3 years. You fast forward a certain amount of time, and then things, your new records or first time accomplishments, they start to be a longer length of time between them.
Yeah.
Right. And so that can easily be mistaken for a plateau or simply just being discouraged in it. And so that's a conversation about patience too, is like, hey, in the beginning, everything was brand new for you. And now you've established your base. Like you've built this real strong, large base to the pyramid. And so you're not going to you're not going to set a personal record on your deadlift by 50 pounds more than one time in your life.
Dude, it is, it's amazing when it happens, when you see people hit a 40, 50 pound PR, when say like, okay, we deadlifted 3 months ago, now they're 3 months into their journey and they hit a 50 pound PR, and it's awesome. Like, it's awesome to see. And then deep down, it's a little bit of jealousy. It's like, oof, I've been chasing a 5 pound PR for 2 years, but,
I'd take a 2 pound.
No, but that is one thing that can be confused, especially with somebody that hasn't had past workout experience. And in that typical situation, if they're hitting 50 pound PRs, they have not.
I really like when people defy that though. Like Daniel Swick, we just had him on the podcast, but I talked to him and I'd be like, hey man, I PR'd my push press by 40 pounds today. I'm like, oh my gosh, man, that's incredible. That's no joke. Like, for multiple reasons. That's a huge amount of weight it's a huge amount of weight.
Yeah.
To set a new personal best. And for that movement specifically, that's an overhead pressing movement, like a 40 pound. And then like you talk to him 2 months later, he's like, hey man, I PR'd my push press by 40 pounds.
Dude, no, what did I say? Oh, it was, we did the push jerk cycle. And it was at the end of it, the third week of that mini cycle, and he ended up hitting things like 245 for 2. I saw. He's like, yeah, my previous 1 rep max was 185. When I read that, I think I was drinking water and spit it out.
Like, oh, come on.
No, it's absolutely amazing. But that just shows what consistency does. That dude's been coming in Monday, Wednesday, Friday for 6, 7, 8 months now. So.
And it's so cool that it's not. It's a testament to consistency and hard work, like period. Because it's not even a testament to volume, right? Like that's what's so awesome is that you could have someone, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. You could have someone that starts and for 12 months straight, they come in 6 days a week, right? And that's a story about consistency, but it's also a story about volume. Like if you put in the work in great volume, you're going to get results. But Daniel is strictly a story about consistency because he works out in a focused manner. He uses his body. He trains his fitness in a focused manner, like in a gym setting, 3 hours per week. But he doesn't miss, right? And if he has a work meeting or there's a holiday, or I think I've talked about this on like 4 episodes of this podcast because he's just it's such a great lesson for everyone, every single person. That if there's a life event that he can't make it in on Monday, so the most recent one was the 4th of July, like. He was with his family on the 5th of July, which was Monday. So he missed his Monday workout. So we added Tuesday. He doesn't usually work out Tuesday. 3 days a week. Dude doesn't miss. He hasn't missed for 12 months. Like, it's just super cool.
Yeah,
Super
I
cool.
agree.
So what was your original question?
What has CrossFit taught me?
Gotcha. So your answer is patience.
Yeah. I would say that's probably the number one, because it applies to both aspects of my life where I use CrossFit. But
You mean as a coach
and
as an athlete?
Yes.
Hey guys, I'm going to pause the conversation for just a quick second, and then I promise we'll get back to the show. But first, I need to ask you a very important question. Have you been working your tail off in the gym, but you're struggling to achieve results as quickly or maybe as profound as you would like? Do you feel that you've got a pretty good grip on what to eat, but you come up short on actually doing it most of the time? Do you need a total reset on how you've been eating? If any of those sound like you, my friend, you don't have to struggle alone any longer. Our professional coaches of Veneration Nutrition specialize in teaming up with working adults to establish a realistic action plan when it comes to their nutrition. No fads, no gimmicks, no cleanses, no shake plans or 30-day challenges, no quick tricks, strict paleo, keto, zone, none of that. We actually won't even put you on a meal plan. Instead, your Veneration Nutrition coach will meet you right where you're at in your life right now and team up to establish new habits that are sustainable and make sense in your life for the long run. You won't go hungry, you'll eat real food, and you'll set yourself up for a lifetime of healthy living, not a quick 20-pound loss that you'll gain back in 3 months. If you're ready for some help from a professional coach who's been where you're at and understands your struggles, let's put this whole diet thing to bed once and for all. Click the link in the show notes to book your free new member consultation so we can sit down to learn more about your health and fitness goals today. If you're a current member of Veneration and you're interested in talking to a nutrition coach, you can use that link as well, or you can speak to one of your Veneration coaches anytime and we'll get you taken care of. Enjoy the rest of the show. An athlete.
Yes.
Cool. I think mine would be I was thinking about something else. I was going to say, because patience, like synonymous with like delayed gratification. I was still there. I was going to say the thing that CrossFit has taught me that stands out the most is that I can do hard things. Yeah. Like period, right? Like for quite a while I worked out like first thing in the morning, and I've really changed up my routine. Primarily it was like a force of the hand when we started our family, right? So I spent time with my son in the morning and my wife. But now I don't think I would go back. I because I have a morning routine that includes like some personal development. I get the most important things in my workday done first thing while I'm sharp, fresh, and rested. But then I work out late morning, and so essentially still starting the day is my point. Starting the day with the hardest thing that I'm going to do all day. Like there is no phone call that I'm going to get about anything, like work related, real estate related, bank related, like what, there's nothing. There's no phone call that I'm going to get that's harder than Fran.
Dude, that's hilarious. That's what I think we probably listened to the same podcast recently.
Did they use Fran?
Dude, yes. He said, it's about the, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on affiliate. It's about the affiliate in a prison. And they're like, nothing is harder than Fran at 6 a.m. So like, what else is the day going to bring? And obviously there are things, 95% of things aren't harder than Fran at 6 a.m. Like,
I mean, but seriously, nothing like bad news. It's conditioned me to where like bad news doesn't paralyze me. Yeah. Right. Like, it's just like, I've had what feels like really bad news when I'm 85 burpees deep into 100 burpees for time. That's bad news. like that's like, yeah. So I know how to cope with those things. So I think that's the biggest lesson. It's like, I can do hard things. It's the hardest thing I do in my day. So really cool. Well, man, let's dive in to some training specific questions. I love that question. I don't even remember who asked that, but thanks for asking, because I believe in what we do on a spiritual level. Like, yeah. I've devoted my entire life to it, as have you, in multiple ways. And yeah, my life is better thanks to CrossFit, period. Like, so what we're going to get into here is some training topics. The first being accommodating resistance. So I think a good place to start, and we actually have a blog series dropping on this over the course of the next several weeks. I believe it's a 6 or 7 part series that we built. But I think a good place to start with this is laying the foundation for what accommodating resistance plugs into, which is the conjugate method. Okay, so our program is a CrossFit program. We train using the CrossFit methodology. All right. And in conjunction with that, no pun intended, the conjugate method, is what I would say is like, it's kind of the skeleton, the template, the bones to all of our strength work, really. And then it also provides the template, the guidance to what our focal point for the extremities of the body, right? So meaning upper body focused or biased, and lower body, which might be confusing to a lot of people. And it really was for me in the beginning, several years ago when I first started to learn about this and study this. It's like, wait, I thought CrossFit was like full body, mixed modality, etc., which is true.
I mean, basically what you're saying is you use it in the conjugate method in our strengths for the day, and then it's also going to determine whether you're doing a push press or a front squat in a conditioning piece.
Correct. And so the conjugate method is a fundamental part of our program design, and within the conjugate method, which we can dive down at a later time, we use the method of accommodating resistance through our strength sessions. And that's what I want to talk on. One of our questions, it was kind of 2-part, and that is, what is accommodating resistance? And part 2 is, why do we use it? So I will kind of throw that out to you, and we can break that down into those 2 parts, and you'll likely answer both of those questions in one. But what the heck is accommodating resistance? Why do we use it?
So accommodating resistance is the use of bands and chains, and it's going to increase the loading throughout a full range of motion rather than in your weak points of the lift. So for example, if you're doing a back squat, at the bottom of your squat is where your body's most compromised, and that's where there's going to be the least amount of band tension, or it's where the chains are going to be completely deloaded. Then as you accelerate from the bottom of that squat, you get more attention as you grow into your strong points.
Let's talk about real quick, just to make sure, because obviously we don't have a picture up of what this setup is. So we use accommodating resistance for lifts. Steele's using the back squat as an example. We also use it for our different pressing variations, right? So overhead presses, a bench press or a floor press, and so you use back squat, like the different squat variations, as well as different pulling variations, the deadlift, sumo deadlift, those things. So when he's saying bands and chains, anyone in our program currently has had exposure to this over the last several months. That is a band anchored on the floor or on pins, so low, right? And then connected to each of the ends of our barbell. Same thing with the chains, where the chains are not connected to the floor. That's going to be the difference, right? The chains are connected to each end of the barbell and are hanging freely with light contact in the bottom, which we can get into that as well. I'm sure. I'm actually going to take a note of that. So we Steele, multiple times in your explanation, you mentioned full range of motion, increasing, having the resistance and the tension through the full range of motion. Why do we do this? Like what is the benefits? Because I'm going to stop rambling in a second. I want to ask you the question, but a question that we get often, which I actually think is a really good question, is also 2-part. Why do we do this? Like, are you guys just like creating variance? Are we just doing like, because this looks hard and
or it's different, or
right? Just to keep it, keep the novelty high, or to keep us engaged? And the answer is absolutely not. So why? How does this benefit someone?
So there's a whole laundry list of ways that accommodating resistance is beneficial, but I'll pick a couple of the main ones on why I like it so much. So the first one I would say is helps you get through sticking points. So I'm already used the squat, so I'll use the squat for example again. So obviously if it's just a straight bar weight, you are accelerating. You have a hard time accelerating that barbell quickly if you have a 1 rep max on the barbell.
Accelerating the barbell. Explain what you mean.
Getting the barbell up.
Right. So you go down into the squat. You've reached so you pull the bar out of the rack. You reach the bottom of the squat. You're on your way up. So you're saying it's difficult to accelerate the barbell. It's a heavy load. That's where the hard work is done. You're in the bottom and you're trying to finish the lift to rise the barbell.
Yes. Right. But with accommodating resistance, obviously, as you're in your weaker, as I mentioned in the explanation of what it is, as you're in your weaker points, the tension is weaker, and as you get higher up in the full range of motion, it gets heavier. Mm-hmm. So you're able to drive through that with the same force as it was. You're able to drive through it faster. It doesn't affect the speed of the barbell on the way up. So you're able to drive through those sticking points with more purpose, with more acceleration. And that actually leads right into another benefit of accommodating resistance, which is it improves the force rate development. So you're never being affected by your barbell's always traveling at the same speed, versus with straight weight it does not. Does that make sense?
Understood. Absolutely. Something we talk about: dynamic effort days, repeat effort days, max effort days, and when we see the use of accommodating resistance, I would say most frequently, that's the word I was looking for, most frequently in our dynamic work. That does not mean that it's not used on our max effort days. You can absolutely see us working to like a heavy double with chains as part of the load. And what's really cool about, or like with bands as part of the load as well. And what's really cool about that is that we're getting those same benefits. We're working to that heavy load and that same output without taxing the body with that raw weight, with the actual load. Another great benefit.
Yeah, for sure. And that in turn, obviously, it leads to delayed soreness, or like a decrease of delayed soreness, because you have less, we'll call it pressure, less loading on your body. Your body is not being as exposed to a bunch of heavy weight when you're in your weakest position.
And in layman's terms, that means we'll see you tomorrow.
Yes.
Right. So you're able to train more frequently, and you should not be searching. We've talked about this many times. I know you and I specifically have talked about this on this podcast. We probably talked about it on my podcast too, is CrossFit done wrong, because we claim to be CrossFit done right. Mm-hmm. Right. And CrossFit done wrong is searching for that dead feeling every day, right? Mm-hmm. Searching to be blasted and be creating a sweat angel and smash on the ground every day. And this is one of the tools that we use, one of the methods that we use to make sure that we're not doing that, right? With it's training versus competing. And that's a whole nother topic, but so much there. I think that's a really good picture that we've painted on the use of accommodating resistance and why.
Yeah, as long as you're explaining. I mean, there will 100% be days, and if there already hasn't been, where you will be using accommodating resistance in a max effort day, but the same exact benefits, right? More geared towards in a max effort day on less stress on the body. But definitely in a dynamic effort day, you get to keep that same exact speed through sticking points, and in turn will lead to more results when we are every once in a while, 5% of the time going through those going for those 1 rep maxes.
Beautiful. We actually have a lot of examples of that in July's program design, where in the cycles that we have. I'm going to fix your mic. That way you don't have to. You can actually stay comfortable. You don't have to lean for it. Is that better?
Yeah, that's
like
good.
That. Good. On that topic, we have a question: difference between bands and chains, which I think is a great question. So two methods of accommodating resistance. Why not just use one or the other? Are they the same? What's the difference?
Chains sound and look
I wasn't expecting it. That's very funny.
No.
Chains look better on Instagram for sure.
So it's a term called overspeed eccentric. In layman's terms, that just means that the bands are going to pull you down to the floor faster than the chains will. So the chains will only move at the rate of gravity. Which I do not know that number off the top of my head.
I would have been very impressed.
If I would just rip that off, yeah.
That would have been super cool.
I'm still practicing that one.
I also would have been like, hey, congratulations on studying before the podcast today.
The next podcast, I'll get that down. But yeah, and then the bands are going to pull you to the floor faster than the speed of gravity, the rate of gravity, which in turn is just building more potential energy. It's making you stay more controlled. Your body is more exposed at that point. You have to stay more braced with bands rather than chains because it is pulling you and it helps build your soft tissues. So that's the main difference. But a couple other little things is chains are going to feel a lot more like real weight than the bands. And then last one, they just look a little bit cooler and sound cool too.
I love when we introduce them into the program and you watch people's faces. Like the first time they do a chain back squat and they look at their buddy and they're like, oh, this is pretty sick. And it's like, yeah, it is. But it has good benefit. It's not just that it looks cool. Kind of shifting gears. Do you think, well, first of all, I feel like we answered the question thoroughly, right? And when I say we, I mean you. Answered the question pretty thoroughly on accommodating resistance. And by the way, if you have more questions out there, this is hardly scratching the surface, right?
We could make this podcast 4 hours long, 5 hours long.
And then do part 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then talk about it till the end of time. There's a lot there. The goal was to try to introduce it and give a general overview without boring you to sleep. And I would also like to take this opportunity to say, if you don't care about any of this and you're like, hey, I just want to show up and do my workout, we understand that that's part of our responsibility, and we've accepted that responsibility, that you trust us with your health, your fitness, and your life. I mean, you show up and work out. Like, we got you. So you don't have to worry about any of this. But if you're anything like me, you like to know the why behind what you're doing. And that's probably the most frustrating thing, is going through the motions but not knowing why you're doing what you're doing. I think we do a great job. I know we do a great job. Again, when I say we, I mean you guys, the coaching team, of explaining the why for the day, every day. This is the more in-depth version of that. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for the blog series coming out that kind of breaks down what we're talking about in a more of a bite-size, segmented, piece-by-piece explanation. Next question. We're going to be back to the show in just a moment, but I need to pause the conversation real quick to share some information with you from one of our show sponsors. If you're tired of driving around in a filthy car, it's time to give Diamond Eye Detailing a call. Diamond Eye Detailing is a locally owned professional auto detailing company right here in Central Ohio. I'm very particular about my things, and I don't just hand my belongings over to anyone. That's exactly why I only trust Amanda and her team to detail my vehicles. She also happens to be a member here at Veneration, and if I know anything, it's that someone who wakes up to do CrossFit at 5:45 in the morning 5 days a week has a work ethic second to none. Interior or exterior cleaning, paint corrections, ceramic coating, and more. If you're looking for professional work at a fair price, give them a call or shoot them a text at 740-501-8365. That's 740-501-8365. And you can connect with them on all social media platforms as well. Now back to the show. Shifting gears slightly, but still talking about the training program. What's a drop set? Because they're coming. And I think that someone has probably seen this in our programming curriculum in Sugarwad.
Somebody seen it?
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Somebody has seen it.
I thought you said somebody seen it.
No way. No way. I don't listen to these back, but I will listen to that to see it. Edit that out. Somebody has seen, is what I was trying to say. Drop sets in our program. What is it? What does it mean?
So there's a couple of different ways that people use drop sets. The way that we're going to specifically use them is building to a heavy single or 1 rep max for the day. And then you'll take off about 10 to 30% of that loading and complete more reps. So you build up to a heavy and then strip off some weight and continue to, and 10 to 30% is still up there. Only taking off 10 to 30% of a weight that you just previously hit, for one, is still going to be up there in weight. So you're still accumulating a lot of volume under heavy loading. But again, it's another form of resistance training, to where your body's not going to be as exposed to super heavy loading as if you were to hit your 1 rep max and then rest 3 minutes and then try to hit the same exact thing again. It's just a way to accumulate heavy lifting and build muscle endurance and encourage muscle growth without exposing your body to like dangerous situations, I would say.
So you just answered the why as well. You answered the what and the why. So it makes perfect sense. Very well done. Yeah. So that's coming. If though actually by the time this is premiered, our members will have in group classes will have had exposure to that this month. So super cool. Now we're really shifting gears, actually, still in the training vein. I think this is something that you have some passion around. Do you know what I'm going to ask you?
No.
We're going to talk about active recovery. And I'm assuming what I don't like to do is answer questions with what it's not, because it's just tell me what it is most of the time. But I think this will probably be something that you use some examples of what active recovery is not to drive home the point of what it is. So without further ado, I'll ask you the question. What is an active recovery day? Because it's a buzzword in this industry, in this world.
My opinions have changed a little bit over time and through more education and development, but still very similar to my original thoughts on it. So I used to hear like, oh, I'm going to go on a 10K active recovery. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? That is going to obliterate your body, like, especially if you don't run 10Ks. So
I haven't ran a 10K in 4 years. I'm going to go do an active recovery 10K.
Yeah. So basically it's a workout done at a very low intensity just to keep your body moving. And they are much more beneficial than not doing a thing, right? Anytime you're moving your body is better than none. But this goes back to, obviously if you're listening to this, you're a part of our program. But 99% of the time we'll give a percentage to work in a day. Like, hey, I want you to give me 50% effort today. I want you to give me 75% effort today. I want you to give me 95% effort today. So anywhere from that, like 50 to 65 range is going to be geared more towards an active recovery. And they're used after a hard workout or multiple hard workouts in a row. So basically what we're doing is entering a zone 1 training state. Your muscles are warm, your heart rate's at about 50 to 60% of your max heart rate, and you're sweating. And then typically if you're doing an active recovery, you should feel a feeling of guilt afterwards. This is one of the favorite things I've ever read is like, if you're doing an active recovery day correctly, you should feel guilty when you're done. Like, oh, I did not give that everything that I had. I could have done a lot more, whether it's I could have went faster, I could have done X, Y, Z. You should feel that after an active recovery. If you don't, you didn't do an active recovery, you did another workout.
I would like to anchor this back to the topic that we were talking about like 10 minutes ago, which is that not every day you should feel like you got hit by a truck. There are days, no matter your skill level or your experience level, that it should take you quite a while to feel normal. Again, like days it's like, wow, if I had to drive in the next 5 minutes, it probably wouldn't be safe. That's correct.
Yeah.
Sometimes. You should not feel that way every day of training. And when we incorporate these active recovery days, or a particular workout is used as that, use it as that. Like it, I have not heard that you should feel guilty afterwards. And it makes perfect sense. And I think that's going to resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah. And also keeping in mind that if you're new or something along those lines, your active recovery day is going to look a heck of a lot different than somebody that's been doing CrossFit for 5 years. Their capacity is built to be able to handle more things that would be treated more as an active recovery. I mean, typically like Wednesdays are going to be geared more towards like where our active recovery days are. And that's obviously not every day. There's a purpose for everything that we do. And some days it might not be that way. But the workout written on the board might not necessarily, that could very well turn into a not zone one training level for you. Could turn into much more than that depending on what the capacity is. So it's so important to listen to your body, communicate your coach, even if it's in the middle of the workout, preferably not, but like, hey, my heart rate is beating at very not 50 to 60% of my max. It's up there closer to 80. And it's like, all right, we need to scale this down a little bit if you would like to train tomorrow, like, and feel good the rest of the week following. So just keeping in mind that your version of active recovery day might be a lot different than somebody else's, and it's not a bad thing. It just means you have room to grow.
And on this side of the conversation, Steele, because I have the privilege of being coached by you 3 to 4 times a week, and it's how our team operates, and this is our standard and how we train our coaching staff. But delivering, like we spoke on earlier, the why, delivering the intent and the purpose behind the day, it's consistent. It's never missed. It's always there. It's always delivered. And that is so important, because the workout that is written in a group class setting is a jumping point. It's a starting point for a conversation, no matter the day. So the thing that holds true and is consistent for every client, if you're consistent in our program, is the intent of the day, the intended stimulus, the why. And then from there, we alter the curriculum that is written, the baseline. We alter it up, or we use the word scale. We scale it up, we scale it down, we change it in some way to make sure that we are achieving the most important thing, which is the why, the intended stimulus for that day. You all do a phenomenal job at communicating that, which truly sets the Veneration program aside from any program I've ever had exposure to, which is a very, very large amount. So cool. What is your this is my question. What do you believe is the biggest misconception about the CrossFit training methodology?
Oh gosh. Ignorance. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Just never having what's the definition of ignorance? Not knowing something or something along those lines. I don't know the exact.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know. It's not an insult. Yeah. It's not stupidity.
Yeah.
Ignorance and stupidity are not synonymous.
So, and then I'll go into obviously I know what your question was, but the aspect of like, oh, it's so randomized, and you pull stuff out of a hopper, a hopper, and that's just what you do for the day. And that's just not true, as well as like, oh, you just go in there and you crush yourself every day and you should be rolling around on the floor, which by all means, like I would bet money that it still happens in other CrossFit gyms. Like, that is a stereotype of CrossFit that the CrossFit community as a whole has probably earned for themselves over the past,
yeah. That's a really good point.
The past however many years, but doesn't mean all of them are like that. For example, I know multiple different CrossFit gyms that aren't like that and have full-time coaches that develop their whole lives to this stuff. And it's not just being a hobby coach and sitting on your phone and playing after you briefly describe what the people are doing for the day. So one of the things that frustrates me the most is when people put the word CrossFit and bundle however many hundreds and thousands of affiliates there are around the world into the same category, because not all CrossFit gyms are created equally.
I love how much I just got under your skin. This is so good. I feel like I just struck a large nerve. You're talking about 15 different things right now.
So basically, people speaking on the CrossFit methodology based off of ignorance of stuff they've never experienced for themselves, or maybe they have. Maybe they have gone to a CrossFit gym before and all the stereotypes there stood true. But it doesn't mean that you can categorize every single gym into that same category, because that's just not true. Same goes for any category of business out there. There's good and bad seeds in everything.
For sure. It's like in the most crude, like just black and white, like simple example I can give. It's like It's like going to a gas station, I imagine, and going in and the person behind the cash register like doesn't say hi when you walk in, and then you like try to buy your gas and their card reader doesn't work, and then they're like, we only take cash. And you're like, well, I don't have cash. And they're like, well, then you can't get gas. And then the next person in line comes up and then their card works and they get gas and you don't get gas, and then you're pissed off, and then like you try to go to the bathroom and the bathroom's got poop all over the walls, and like you're so upset, and then you spend the rest of your life talking about how terrible gas stations are.
Exactly.
It's like, well, no, like, the gas station that you went to sounds like a horrible experience, but have you ever been to a Sheetz is all I'm saying. So,
new Sheetz in town. Yep.
Yeah, cool. That's good. What's the biggest misconception about you?
I don't know. I don't really know what's said about me.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like that's an unfair question. I'm going to tell you what I think it is.
Okay.
I think that, oh my gosh, but I've been guilty of this too, though. I think that you'll do something like, let's just like I'll make up an example, okay? We build a workout that is intended to be done in the range of 10 to 12 minutes. And the prescription that it's written at allows the vast majority of people to accomplish that, right? That's the intention. And then you come in and do it in 4. And people like me who are not you are like, at first, I think the first reaction is blown away. And then a lack of respect for what has led to that. Like, you didn't just like go fast today. I think that's what I'm trying to say, is that you don't just like choose to be fast or choose to be strong. That like, your goals are so different. They're so, you're an anomaly. You have unique goals that don't align with most people. It makes you special. Obviously you couldn't have answered that question that way. That was a very unfair question of me, but it makes me laugh because I see it in myself more often than I would ever care to admit. Like, oh my God, like, I love giving you so much crap too, but like we're going to do a workout and I'm like, I think like I probably hang with him on this one. Like I might get him. Like, I might get him on a 3-round workout. And then like I'm laughed before the first round is over. I'm like, oh yeah, have a little respect. A little respect for the process of.
Very funny. So I will call out LA here because it's funny and he felt that yesterday. We did the workout together yesterday. What was it? 40, 30, 20, 10. Wall balls, sit-ups, and cows, and we used the ski. And I said, are you going to do the wall balls unbroken? He was like, yeah. And I was like, so sure enough, he comes out hot, and he might have beat me off of the wall balls, actually. And then we were on the ski at the same time in the first round, and he goes, while he's on the ski, he's dying, and he's like, I'm going to have to break up the next set. So in all fairness, I kind of lured him into it, but it was very funny.
And so, yeah, again, you do that stuff to me too, where you tempt me, you like dangle the carrot and I bite like an idiot every time. Yeah, you don't just wish for this stuff. But no, I just find great humor in that. And then like in making good fun of myself, where I'm like, yeah, wake up. Wake up. I'm going to pause the conversation real quick to share something with you that I genuinely believe can change your life. About a decade ago, I had an interest in trying out this CrossFit thing, but my only option was to go to a gym and get thrown into a group class with 20 other people who had been doing it for years before me. I was way in over my head. The workout was insane. I didn't know anything, and I felt really silly jumping in that way. I knew there had to be a better way, and there was a better way. My wife and I founded Veneration in 2015, and we created the Veneration Immersion program. That's 5 one-on-one 60-minute private sessions with your personal coach. We'll teach you the ropes and the lingo of CrossFit. You'll graduate VIP feeling smart, you'll know how to move safely, and you'll be prepared for success for years to come. Many people decide they don't want to come into class and they want to continue working one-on-one with their coach, and that's totally awesome. Veneration can be for everyone, but group class isn't. This is CrossFit done right. Click the link in the show notes to book your free new member consultation so that we can sit down and learn more about your health and fitness goals today. Now back to the show. Since we talked last, you were on the podcast. You were the first episode of this podcast.
Yeah.
Is it the last time you've been on?
Yes. Which one is this one? Is this Veneration podcast or Swim Shop
podcast?
Oh,
for sure. No one on my podcast wants to listen to any of this.
Okay.
Yeah. No, this is definitely the Veneration podcast. The idea here, the main.
That's what I thought. I was not the first. Actually, I was.
Yeah,
the
you
first,
were.
I was the first person on both. No, Courtney was the first person on
mine.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay, that's where I was confused.
No, the purpose of this is to provide valuable information to our clients, and then the very close second is to provide valuable information and to just help for free to our community, right? Like if you're not a member of our community, our Veneration community yet, I hope that you're soaking all of this in. And if you're training on your own right now, like use it. And then the very next thing that I encourage you to do is reach out and book a new member consultation, right? It's not a sales pitch. Like we've all been there and that sucks. We just want to learn about you. Like
we've all seen the Instagram videos of people using one full chain hanging from the barbell instead of doubling it up. And
it hurts.
So close, but
it hurts to watch because this is what we've said it 4 times today. It's like what we've dedicated our life to. We want to help people live better lives for the other 23 hours that they're not with us in the gym. So anyway, this is the Veneration podcast.
I know. You confused me for a second.
So what was I even asking now? You were, so you were the first episode of this. So it's been quite some time. What cool story or stories do you have to share? Like what's some of the coolest stuff that's happened in your life as a coach recently? Some bright spots that stand out. And if it's not appropriate to use names, you can not, or like you can even just use like initials.
I won't even do that. I'll just keep it very, I guess, general, you would say. But they all do go a lot deep. And this isn't for the case for multiple different people. They all do go a lot deeper into full stories and why it's a big deal. But I'd say generally just people doing things that they never thought they'd do again in their life is probably the biggest bright spot. And there's been multiple. And the same person accomplishing multiple things or the same people accomplishing multiple things. But I would say all in all, definitely people doing things that within a year or a little over a year of things that they thought they'd never do again.
They wrote off for the rest of their life, right? Yeah. They got 50 years left on this earth and they were already, whether they spoke it out loud or really even acknowledged it internally, they just wrote off that they were ever going to do it again.
Yes.
Wow, that's cool. What's an example of an accomplishment? You don't have to use a name if you don't want.
Example of an accomplishment would jumping.
It's awesome. You want to know one of my favorite ones that I've seen a couple times over and it never gets old is rope climbs, because there's so many people, and I did not realize this until I got into this business and of helping people, and that okay, so our generation, we didn't, like, gym class is much different than it was 30 years ago. Okay, like we hardly played dodgeball. I think that was like on its way out when we were coming through school, because you can't hurt someone. You can't. It's very. I believe it's very silly. Dodgeball taught a lot of great lessons, and but like pegboards and rope climbs, those don't exist in gym class unless you know who did gym class really well, and I wish I was a kid and got to experience it, is Ralph Hicks. So Ralph Hicks is the founder, the original owner of CrossFit New Albany, and he was a phys ed teacher for Granville, I believe, before these days. I want to say he lives out west, I believe. Anyway, our friend Dalton, both trained under Ralph in his gym, and then I believe had him as a gym teacher, as a phys ed teacher, and their gym classes were CrossFit.
That's
and it's
awesome.
like that is how it's done. Like that is so awesome. So much. Whether he ever realized that or not, probably didn't. And I should tell him that, is that I looked up to him and still do, and he's a mentor, and like, just paved the way for the way that it should be done. I'm sure he's taken that to, I think he still teaches, from what you can see on social media and stuff. Okay. Oh my gosh. All of this to say that back in the day, it sounds like rope climbs and pegboards and things like that were common in gym class, and they're not anymore. So we get adults that come in, we get working adults that come in, and I forget, not so much anymore, that there's horror stories in their life surrounding the rope climb. They got made fun of. They were the only kid in class that couldn't do it. Or like the gym teacher was like, took out all of his insecurities on them and screamed at them when they couldn't climb ropes. Yeah. And today, as adults, as 30, 40, 50-year-olds, they get to climb a rope for the first time and then do it 10 times over in a workout, because like we actually teach them how to do it, and then they excel at it and develop skill and speed. And oh my gosh, that's cool. That never gets old.
And the same thing goes for many different movements. I've heard multiple different times like, oh my gosh, I couldn't even do this when I was young and a kid and stuff like that. So that's always a cool experience.
I love that we and you guys as the coaching team have landed on this perfect combination of exercise science that feels like a birthday party, that feels like adult recess. That's a better description. It doesn't feel like a science experiment, but again, it's not pulled out of a hat and random, and it's not 16 stations of a randomized, and I'm not like, these exist everywhere, right? Like randomized boot camp style, where you're just doing random movements for the sake of sweating and doing them, and there's no structure, there's no progression, there's no compounding anything. So this beautiful balance of science and just raw childlike fun that we get to have on a daily basis.
Which, I mean, and what you were explaining, like the boot camp style of stuff, like, yeah, if you went from not moving your body at all to moving your body and doing something, you're going to see results. But a majority of the people want to see results fast, and that's when you have to start incorporating the actual science and progression behind that. Is, yeah, you could see results from that, but it might take you 4 years to see those results in the same amount in the time that you could have been following a structured program and seeing the results in 3 months.
And quite frankly, the dark side of that is the injury piece, right? Like if you do, if you train random combinations of movement patterns for long enough, especially at high intensity or high volume of any sort, like just make sure that you have prepared somewhere on your calendar an injury, because like that's, and so to avoid that by following a strategic program further compounds the speed of your progress. So that's sweet. Man, we got anything else on for today?
Nope. That's
everything. Cool. Well, we'll hop back on. I like this. I like putting out the opportunity for people to ask questions. I think, hey, you know what I think is coming is Court is coming on to talk about vitamins, supplements, and I imagine we get into debunking some myths are in the nutrition world. So that'll be really awesome. Good. I'm excited for that one.
I will definitely listen to that one.
Also, we don't have a laundry list of announcements. We have one big one that we are doubled down on and focused on, and that is the second annual Tribe Throwdown. So we've really solidified the plan. It is there, and we're going to be dripping some information over the next several weeks. But this is September 11th, and it's going to kick off at noon. This is a partner competition, and it is exclusive to Veneration Tribe members. So this is not an open competition to the world. It is a closed competition to our membership, and the best part is that it ends with a cookout and a bonfire, and it's really just a big workout party. We also have something really special in store, which to end the night, which we will give some information on in the coming days. But Yeah, stay tuned because starting next week, we will begin to give some details on that. And don't hold me to this, but I believe we're going to start registration for this on August 1. That's the plan.
And it is a competition, but don't let that word intimidate you. Get a buddy that you work out with in class every single day and do workouts with them. It'll be very, very fun, and I strongly encourage every single person, no matter where you're at in your fitness journey, to do it, because competition is truly a different experience, and you'll push yourself out of your comfort zone and, again, do things that you probably never thought you'd be able to do. It'll be awesome. So
Steele used the word encourage, and I will use the word plead. I will beg you to do this because I want you to have the opportunity to create some really, really amazing memories and some firsts. You'll do some firsts in this. But man, I'm very introverted where like I hate new things. I think I've said this on the podcast before where like I hate going to a new restaurant for the first time because like when I walk in, I don't know like where the bathroom is and I just feel awkward and weird. I feel like everyone's looking at me and obviously they're not because no one cares. But like I don't like new things. This is your opportunity to get outside of to break out of your shell, to get outside of your comfort zone, to do something really, really freaking cool with your gym family. There's not other gyms there. There's not like, you're not going to go get embarrassed or feel silly. It's your coaches that are putting it on and your friends that you're working out with. And it's the event of the year. It's just a big party that we do the thing that we do every day. Daily, and that's workout, it's exercise. So it's going to be a freaking blast. So mark your calendars and look for the details that we'll be releasing over the coming weeks. But man, that's a wrap. We'll be back, like I said, next week with Coach Court, and we're going to debunk some myths around nutrition, and she's also going to help us with some information on vitamins, sups, and how to not get screwed at GNC, you know?
Yep.
So cool. That's a wrap. Talk to you later.
See ya.